We're going to start with a word of prayer, and then we will be going into our natural remedies demonstration. Heavenly Father, thank you so much, Lord, for blessing us with all these things. We want to honor you, Lord, as we learn more about these remedies, many of which could be found in the kitchen, in the home already, or around the garden. And I just pray this is a blessing for those who are listening. In Jesus' name, amen. So we're going to be mentioning some different remedies here, and we're going to first be talking about the cabbage. Now, this is one of my favorites. Hydrotherapy is right there with natural remedies, just because I've seen the beauty of natural remedies and what it could do. But I would say for sure, natural remedies is one of the favorite ones of mine that I love to look over and teach to individuals as much as I can, because we never know where we're going to find ourselves, right? We don't know what predicaments we'll be in, and it's good to just be ready when life comes. So the first one we're going to mention is actually the cabbage. And most of these, I'm just going to more show you and talk about them than do want you to kind of so to speak, feel it. So this is the cabbage, and this is just a cabbage leaf. Usually you can get this for free when you go to Walmart or one of those in a store. Sometimes they even get rid of them, right? Worst case scenario, you pay a couple cents because they want you to put it on the little scanner. But you want to just get rid of this part for the demonstration purposes. So you see how I have already cut this part? You want to cut that stem. And after you cut that stem, um, just like that. After you cut the stem, it's going to be like this. You want to crush this now. The veins, all the veins in here has some juices that actually has been studied to show that it's very good at pulling out inflammation. So the way you want to get that out is you want to just crush it or score it, whether you use a glass bottle. But what you really want to do is get it out. So I could just use almost anything and crush it out. You probably can't hear that sound, but it's that crushing sound is what you want to hear. So you can use a roller pin, you can use a knife and really score it. And when you do that and it's wet to the touch, it's pretty wet to the touch, you've really broken open all those veins. You want to do it to a few of them. So I have about three of them here, and this could be placed on anywhere from the back, if you have back pain, the knee, elbow. It could be on a shoulder. It's just really good for general inflammation and pain on the body. And again, some people have just lightly put this in the food processor and lightly allow that to pulse. When you do the pulsing, you pulse it, and that just breaks it up, which is going to release those same enzymes, which is going to help to extract or pull out a lot of that inflammation out of the body, right? So that's what we want in a time of pain. Now, this is good for pain anywhere, but especially we've seen beautiful results on things like knee pain, shoulder, and back pain. So that's just a really good one to have in general. So you want to warm this up, especially if you're dealing with somebody with arthritis, for instance. You want to warm this up. You don't want to put this cold on somebody with arthritis. Many individuals, when they have something cold on that arthritis, on their arthritic joints, sometimes it makes it worse. So you don't want to do that. It's good to put something warm, and usually the person knows too if they're affected by certain temperatures. So that's how you want to use this. And also another thing you can do for this is you can use this internally. Of course, cabbage, as many of you may have had some cabbage before, it's really good for your digestion. Taking cabbage is really good for as a tonic for the digestive tract. However, especially for ulcers, if they are stomach ulcers, you can drink cabbage juice, right? Just about 4 ounces a day. People who have that H. pylori bacteria, the cabbage juice has been known to help tremendously with that, to break open that outer shell of the H. pylori bacteria, to allow it to better be dealt with by the body. So about 4 to 8 ounces of juice, you can break that up. You can start with 4 ounces a day and see, some people have feel a little uncomfortable from a gas standpoint. But those individuals who persist and continue using it, even if you feel that little bloating, usually after a couple of days that goes away. So I would recommend still trying it, but listening to your body. But it helps tremendously for ulcers like that. Now, in the meantime, I do want to put one little note in here, which is Even the remedies that I'm going to share with you today, many of them are aids, many of them are supplemental, and many of them really help bring about beautiful results. But some of them are more to help the situation temporarily, but you always have to reason from cause to effect. In the Bible, it says, the cause I knew not, this is the book of Job, the cause I knew not, I searched out. So, in other words, it is important to know what is the cause of your dilemma. In the book of Proverbs, the wise Solomon said, the curse causeless shall not come. In other words, whenever there's something that's a curse, arthritis could seem like a curse, digestive issues can seem like a curse, headaches can seem like a curse. You have to ask yourself, what exactly is the cause of this curse? Because the Bible promises, this is a Bible promise you can claim, the curse causeless shall not come. It's not just going to spring out of thin air. There was something that was done that brought about this ailment, this hurt, this pain, this disease, and something I need to do to rectify it. So if I have a headache, though I can tell you about some hydrotherapy things for headache and some oils and massage for the head, I have to figure out what am I allergic to. So that's become, what's causing those headaches. So you don't want to just have another natural remedies to become another pill, another way to just keep having to take something. You want to get to the root cause. Don't pick at the leaves, right? Cut down the tree. That will, so I pray that's an understanding. That's a foundation understanding as we move forward. Okay. So this helped tremendously with pain. And sometimes when you use these things, you don't experience it again. Praise the Lord for that. But you have to say, where have I violated the laws of my body? And there are laws everywhere, right? We may not like the laws, but when you think about the law of gravity, you could say, I don't like the law of gravity, but if you jump down the building, the law of gravity doesn't care how you feel or how I feel, it's going to work. And you have laws in your
Beautiful.
body that once I do the things, once I eat or I drink, if it violates the law that has been given by our loving creator in our body, then I have to reap those consequences. But we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That's why sometimes, even though we may put stuff in our temples, in this body that damages it, the body doesn't immediately break down because of the beautiful way we were designed to recover. So sometimes we go beyond that recovery, and this is why we have these things to get us back into line and to help us to get back into harmony with the laws that God has put in our body. So that was one of them right here. I'm going to move on. The next one that we have, since we are talking about that, I'm going to just bring this over here. So this is aloe. Many of you may be familiar with aloe, and there's different types of aloe, just in case there are individuals who are wondering, well, what type of aloe? There are different types of aloe. And let me see if I could better get you. If it's a little dark, I apologize. I'm not sure why. But so you have aloes like this, right? The skinnier one and the thicker one. So either one is very useful, right? If you want to get this. Now, when you use the aloe, there's different things you can do for it. You can use aloe for scars and wounds. Aloe is a good cell proliferator. In other words, it speeds up the proliferation of cells. So when you have a wound anywhere on the body, when you put aloe there, we know the body will naturally heal. It always wants to heal. But what aloe does is it speeds up that process, and it's also going to act as a way to clean that wound, to help that wound from infection. That's how beautiful it is. So you don't have to reach for Neosporin. You can grab an aloe. Another thing you can do is cut off the little pricklies on the side of the aloe. You can cut those off, and then you can cut it right on the surface, taking off that green part. And the gel inside, you can use that gel internally, right? Taking that gel for things like cancer and diabetes, and it's very helpful. You can mix it with a little bit of water and or a little bit of juice, unless of course you're dealing with diabetes, then you want to just maybe just stick with the water. So you can mix that around and you can drink that twice a day, depending on what is your goal, what are you doing, especially for cancer. Here at Uchee Pines, we do use aloe as part of our cancer protocol. The guests who come here with those ailments, they do intake that, take it internally, about 4 ounces of it every day. So that's something you can use it for, right? Aloe. So you can also use that same gel. And if you get one of these, this is just one of those gloves. So you know, with these gloves, you can take the gel and you can fill it. If you put the gel from the aloe in a blender with just a very, very little bit of water, just enough water to help it mix around to get a little bit more liquidy and less viscous, then you can pour the aloe that you've made from the blender with just a little bit of water, and you can fill up all of these. When you fill these up, you can tie this. You can put this in your freezer, and in your freezer, some freezers, they have these grates, you know, the grates in your freezer, the shelves, and you just put this in between the grates in the freezer. You let that freeze. When that is frozen, you want to take a knife or a scissors, you want to cut a piece of the finger, cut that piece of finger, and you can use that as a way to help with things like hemorrhoids, right? Instead of preparation H, you have preparation A, right, for aloe. You can use that for hemorrhoids. If we were here in person, I would ask for a volunteer and say, anybody want to try this? I'm pretty sure no hands would go up right now, though. But if you just cut that out, you cut the finger out, you just give this to the individual, and they put that in the rectum, and that's a tremendous way to help with hemorrhoids. And anybody who have hemorrhoids know it's very painful, lots of inflammation. So it acts as an astringent. So astringent pull, right, tightens up. So that's what you want to do. But again, reasoning from cause to effect, you know, you have to increase your water, increase your fiber, things like that. So you could also use this for your hair. It's really good for hair, strengthening the hair follicles. So, and dandruff. So aloe is a good way to rinse your hair or put that in your hair. I'm from St. Croix, Virgin Islands, and we do that many a time. We use it in our hair very often. So that's aloe is a really good one to do that with. So we'll stop there. Now, aloe has more than 200 compounds. So we could stay and talk about aloe for so much longer, right? There's over 200 compounds, including minerals. So many things in aloe to help with aiding recovery, depending on what you're using it for. So the next one we're going to talk about, since we talked about skin, would be Mr. Potato. Maybe you've heard of using a potato. So potato is really good. What I would do with the potato is just grate it. Just get a grater. I know some of those ladies, they could just go with a knife. I'm not that talented. I need to get a grater. So you want to grate this on a piece of paper towel. And I could show you an example of that. I don't have the grater, but I'll just show you. Once you grate this, you know that aloe, if you could touch this aloe, whether it's in the fridge or not, when you cut open the aloe, it's very cool on the inside. It is awesome for inflammation, especially on the skin, or for skin issues, skin rashes. For edema is a good reason to put it. You want to wrap that ankle or that calf muscle with aloes, right? Putting it in an old shirt, and you can just wrap it around. There's different ways to do it. So if you had a spider bite, that maybe not a very poisonous one, then you want to maybe try charcoal, and we'll talk about that. But you can use that for spider bites and things like that. You can also, so if I take the aloe, I would cut it up, or I would shred it. And then if the aloe was in here, I would just fold that over just like that. You can tape the sides. The aloe would be in the middle, right? And it would be very wet, very, very wet and moist. And you put that over the area that needs it. If it's an inflamed tissue, any area that's inflamed on the body, especially if it's the tissue, then potato is an awesome way to do that, right? So, yep. Yes, when I say potato, I said aloe, I meant potato. Thank you. So potato is an awesome way to put upon the skin for inflammation of the skin. I have a very beautiful testimony, actually. When I was in Maine, I was learning carpentry, and I went to Maine. And while I was there, I was working on this roof. I climbed down the ladder, and I jumped off the ladder at the bottom, I was trying to hurry to go get the shingles so I could go back on the roof. When I jumped down, I landed right on a nail. So the nail went into my foot, and that did not feel pleasant, as you can imagine. So I'm there limping, and then I immediately asked the homeowner if I could have a potato. I don't remember them having it, but I asked them because I know what it could do. I went home. Now remember that the nail's in my foot, well, not in my foot. It didn't stay in there, but it pricked through my skin. It went through the tissue. So I went home, and that's what I did. I grated a potato and I put it right at the bottom. So if that's the bottom of my feet, I put that poultice, a potato poultice, right at the bottom. And what that does is, one, it really helped the pain because it was so painful and it was getting really inflamed. It really helped the pain and it took down the inflammation. I left that on for 2 hours and then I switched it and I put another fresh potato poultice on. And then I put another one on. You'll notice when you open it too, it'll be very discolored and, as it oxidizes, it draws. So that's what you want. You want the drawing property, right? And the cooling property helps the inflamed part. So that's what I did. And then I did a contrast bath where I did hot water, cold water, hot water, cold water. I did that for 3 days. And I was back on that roof on the fourth day after a nail going through my foot. Back on the roof working again. So I am a strong believer of the potato. Skin issues, this is one of those that you really don't want to take for granted. So any tissue damage that you want to put, you can put a potato. Of course, a potato is also is going to help to draw out. So you can use this to help again with any skin related issue or rashes. You can try the potato. And the beautiful thing as we go through this, by the way, and as we move on, the thing I want you to remember is if I try, let's say that I tried a cabbage poultice and the poultice didn't work, then what do? Do I just say, oh, natural remedies don't work, throw it out? No. When you go to the doctor and you receive some medicine and the medicine doesn't seem to work or you have an allergic reaction, you go back to the doctor and you tell him, doc, this isn't working for me. And the doctor doesn't say, well, I guess nothing's going to help you. He puts you on something else or he changes the dose. And it's the same thing for natural remedies. So if we can give man a try, I think it's only fair to give God a try. If one thing doesn't work, then don't say, oh, this never works. You say, how can I, Lord, point me to something that I can use to help me? Hezekiah had to pray, and God showed Isaiah a fig, which is very good for boils, by the way. He showed Isaiah a fig, and he put the fig upon the boil, and it saved his life. And God wants to use natural means when you use the natural means, natural remedies, and you hold on to the arm of divinity, it brings about supernatural results. That's what I love about these. We cooperate with heaven and you get to see practically in front of you God working through something as simple as a cabbage leaf, through a potato. And how expensive is buying a potato? Right? So this is the beauty of God, how he makes this available for all, even more if we grow it. So that's potato. We could talk about other stuff. You could juice a potato, and you can use that also for ulcers. The good thing with the potato, it gets duodenum ulcers also. So ulcers in the stomach or ulcers that may be a little lower down in the small intestine, potato is very good for that. Cabbage does very good for the ulcers in the stomach. Potato does awesome for the ulcers that may be just a little more down, right? A little down more. So that's the potato. And somebody please keep me on track for time because I know I could go forever. I'm trying to move on. So that's the potato. We could always talk more about that. The other one that I want to talk about that I just really appreciate is oats. Oats are just an amazing thing, not just to eat, by the way. I mean, I know we know about oats. Oats actually is very good for your cholesterol. The type of fiber in oats help tremendously in bringing down cholesterol, right? Because fiber, the more you increase fiber in your diet, the more that fiber can actually cling on, and some cholesterol is actually reabsorbed in the body. So if you're trying to lower down your cholesterol, then the first thing you want to do is not include more cholesterol into your body. I mean, that's the first thing. So if you have high cholesterol, don't put cholesterol high foods in your body because then you're adding to your cholesterol. Your liver makes the cholesterol that you need. You don't need extra from outside sources. So that's the first thing. Second thing would be to increase your fiber. One of the best ones I'm offering to you right now would be your oats. Oats is tremendous for that. Oats has beta glucan. Oats has things like well, there's so much there, phytosterols. And the reason phytosterols are so good, and phytosterols are not just in oats, it's in things like flaxseed and broccoli, things like that. But the reason it's so good in oats too is because what they do is you have these cholesterol receptors. For many things in your body, there's receptors for that thing. So when you have cholesterol, especially like high cholesterol that's circulating within the blood, it goes to these receptors to get uptake more, right? So it gets upregulated more. But when you eat a high phytosterol diet, plant cholesterol, so to speak, it's almost like that, then what you do is you block those receptors. So if I had four receptors for the cholesterol and you increase that fiber, you increase your oats, the phytosterols do is it blocks those receptors so that when the cholesterol, free cholesterol, the fat is trying to get in, it can't get hold of those cholesterols, so your body has a better chance to get rid of it out of the body, right? So that's what we want. We want to block those receptors so that you don't upregulate as much cholesterol, right? It doesn't increase that cholesterol upregulation. So you want to increase your oats. It also has things like avenanthramides. And what that does is it helps tremendously with itching. I have a rare form of something called cold urticaria. And what that is, it's basically if I go into the cold for too long, like when I was living in Maine, I developed this living in Maine. I worked carpentry in the wintertime, which I don't recommend. But when I did that, I began to have an allergic reaction. I build an allergic reaction to cold, actually, right? And by building this allergic reaction to the cold, I begin to swell up, but I itch. It's like hives. And if you ever had hives, 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 if you ever have a hives, it can drive you crazy. So I had this going on. So what I would do is I would get my oats, and this is for anybody who has really severe itching, whether that's from chicken pox or any reason of itch, a rash, allergic reaction. You want to pour the oats in water. So you just want a cup, a basin, whatever you want of water, but the source has to be big enough to fit the body part. In my case, it was my fingers, my hand. So I just got a big bowl. I pour some oats in there and I pour water over that. And I really mix up the oats in the water. It's better if you grind it. If you grind it, then it becomes more bioavailable. Well, available, not bio, that's if you're eating it, but it becomes more available in the water. The concentration is stronger. So you can then soak your hand or soak that body part. You can, if you need to do your whole body, you can fill a tub with water, but you can put this in a stocking, what do you call that? A stockings for like a ladies wear stockings. You can put the oats in the stockings, tie it around the spout for the bathtub and let the water run over that. The water is going to be real murky in the bathtub and you can lay in that and that helps tremendously. Because of those avenanthramides, it helped tremendously to ease the itching. It's one of those things that give my brain relief. If you ever had hives before, you wouldn't wish that on your enemy. But this oats help tremendously to stop itching. And because there's properties in there too that retains moisture, it helps people with dry skin, which means if you're thinking with me, it's really good for people with eczema, right? Eczema. So if you have eczema, you can also do oat scrubs. Rubbing the oats over that skin will help tremendously to aid against the itching and to bring relief and to keep the skin moist. Because the more the skin dry out, the more they activate that eczema. But really, they want to really work with their diet when it comes to eczema. But that's a different story. So that's what you can do. Also, just for fun of it, if you have not done this before, if you do a bath with this, or you just at least put it in a washcloth and wet it, and you do a washcloth rub in the bathroom, when you come out, your skin will be baby soft. It makes the skin so smooth, which helps you to know, one, it's locking in that moisture, and two, how good it is for the skin. Right? So this is internal and external use of just oats for itching. And how many of you already have oats right there in your closet, right? Right there in your pantry? How many of you already have potatoes or cabbage right there in your pantry this whole time? A medicine cabinet that you may not have known of, right? Right there. Somebody asked if oats will help with shingles. It will help against the itching. However, the best thing I realized for shingles would actually be two of the best things will be the aloe. Aloe is really good for shingles, but there's another one and it just went right out of my brain. And I'll try to get that to you. It's a plant and I could see it now. It's a red petals, but the plant escaped my mind. So if the plant comes back, to me, I think it begins with a G. It's coming back. But if it comes back to me, I will share that with you. But aloe is a really good one. But one of the best I've seen is this plant I'm thinking of that I'll try to get back for you. Is it geranium? Well, so I'll try to get that for you. So that's the oats, okay? And you can use that to help with the shingles from that standpoint, but you have to boost your immune system with the shingles. You have to boost your immune system. Use the oats to help with itching. Use the aloe to not only help with the itching, but it also helps to bring healing. So you can use the aloe internally and externally to help the healing with the shingles. But you really want to boost your immune system when it comes to shingles too. Your immune system really needs to be boosted. So you could use things like lemon, like we talked about, filled with vitamin C. Those who have pine trees, you can do pine tree teas, the needles of the pine tree. The pine tree that when you pick the needles on the stem, there's 5 needles. That's how you know it's the correct pine. Um, oh, thank you. Thank you. Good to know that. So, and if you can just let me know in the chat too, what time is my cutoff time so I could have time for questions and answers too, that would be a blessing. I'm just going to move on. One thing I will mention also will be the coconut oil. Just because we talked about skin and eczema, you could use coconut oil for eczema also. It's really good. They've actually done studies and shown that it's just on par with some of the leading topical ointments or analgesics for eczema that is used. There's been just on par when they did blind studies. So they did double blind studies where they would separate 2 groups, and they had, and some of the individuals actually had better results. So it was on par, and some were even better, but nothing, they never had it below the topical use. And how simple is it to not only buy this, right? You can use this. You might already have this in your pantry. And that's what I'm telling you how good God is, friends. That the things that we have, the things that we've been buying, we already had medicine. And this is the God who loves you, who provides simple things because he made your body and he knows how it operates. So this is really good to use. My daughter, by the way, why I talk about eczema so much, she has eczema. Well, she has it still. I don't want to say had because it's there. However, for years, I forgot sometimes that she has it because one, we're dealing with the diet, which tremendously, like 75, if not 80% was dealt with the diet. After that, it was just using these topical things, which we barely have to do because of the diet. So I want to just put that little plug in there. So I want to put that to the side. The next thing we're going to do too is talk about, since we are talking about that, is clay, bentonite clay, right? Or green clay. There's different types, but this is bentonite. And you can see in there, right? So they tell you when you use the bentonite clay, they tell you don't use spoons like a silver spoon, and when you're using it, you want to use plastic. And one of the reasons is this clay will actually begin to break down the minerals, right? It absorbs minerals. So that's why they say don't use metal. So if it absorbs minerals, that tells you that it's good as a heavy metal detox. You see that? So taking it internally would also help. However, whenever you're taking any type of powders, you always increase your chance of constipation. Naturally, it's a binder, right? So it's going to bind not just those heavy metals, it's going to bind you. So you do want to increase your water tremendously, and don't do this frequently. A lot of veggies and things that we eat already actually helps take out heavy metals. We make it seem like you just can't get it out, but that's not totally true. There's a lot of metals that you will urine out, some that only comes out through sweat. So there's different ways of getting out, some in feces. The best thing to really do is drink plenty of water. Cilantro is really good for metals, heavy metals. I know we're kind of going on beyond natural remedies, but I guess that is a natural remedy. Eating a lot of cilantro. I really love cilantro. So eating a lot of cilantro helps with heavy metals also. So that's what you can use. Bentonite clay can be used for some same skin issues. Eye inflammation. If you have inflammation of the eye, you could just make a paste and put it right over there, and sleep with that on. You can put it throughout the day. It's going to help pull out that inflammation. Somebody who had shingles, also, we've used this on people with shingles, and it helped them. Again, I see the aloe doing much better personally. That's been my experience, but I would say that this did help them. It dried it a lot though. And for some individuals, it did make it a little more itchy. But yet it took away so much inflammation and sometimes took away itchiness. So I've experienced different things with the clay. But just to tell you some benefits of it that you can use. It's really good to put clay over the face, or ladies or even men, right? To just help the pores, or over any body part. It's going to help pull, right? It's a drawer also. So it's going to help pull out toxins also. So you can do clay over any part of the body that's inflamed. It's a good way to go for using clay. So that's the clay there, just to keep moving on so we don't stay too long. One that I just have to mention to make sure we don't leave without, even if you heard about it before, you're going to hear about it again, and I hope you do 1,000 times, is charcoal. Charcoal is amazing, amazing, amazing. You need to have charcoal. We have a Country Life food store. If you put Country Life food store, and I'll give this to you in the end, I could put it in the chat. They'll ship this to you if you want to buy it from them. Country Life, we sell this, and it's one of those you have to keep, and it'll keep indefinitely. Just keep it tight in a dark place, and it will keep indefinitely. It's very strong. It's activated charcoal, so you can use this as a paste, making it as a poultice, putting it over your eyes for inflammation. You could use charcoal internally if you've had food poisoning. Or if you want to, remember we talked about cholesterol. So cholesterol, you would do 1 tablespoon of charcoal 3 times a day. We did this at Uchee Pines. We've been trying this a little bit more than recent, actually. And it's just been an amazing, amazing treatment for that also. However, again, you're looking at the root cause. Don't put extra cholesterol in the body. You want to, some other things we could always talk about with questions at the end. But 1 tablespoon 3 times a day, you can do it for up to a month, right? We do it in 17-day sessions. It lowers down the total cholesterol. We've seen up to 25% reduction in total cholesterol and up to 41% reduction in your LDL cholesterol. That's amazing, just by using 1 tablespoon 3 times a day of charcoal, right? Of course, cutting out the others. Cutting out, during the time that you're doing it, especially stop eating the extra cholesterol coming in, and you can do that tremendously. And drinking lots of water. A lot of fat, it needs water in order to break down through the process, the enzymes that make it happen. Not that well, we don't have to get into that, but you need to drink lots of water in order for there to be fat breakdown. There's a cascade of events that lead to that. But so that's charcoal, right? We could spend so much time. Another one that I have to share with you is putting some charcoal. If you put about 1, maybe 2 tablespoons, but I would say probably sticking with 1 first, especially if you put 4 to 6 ounces of water, leaning more on the 6 ounces of water, and you put a tablespoon of charcoal in that water, and you just let that sit. Make sure you cover it with a lid. Let that sit for an hour to 3 hours or overnight. What's going to happen is going to separate. You're going to have charcoal sediments on the bottom, and then on the top, you're going to have some clear liquid. That clear, when I say clear, charcoal is in the water, so it's black, but it's clearer, much clearer than the bottom. So I hope you understand what I mean by clear. You're going to have a clear liquid on the top. That clear liquid on the top, you can give just that clear liquid to an infant who has colic. That's very good for them. They cannot drink charcoal concentrated like how we can as adults, but they can drink that clear liquid and it helps them with colic. Or another thing you can do, that clear liquid on the top, if you get an eyedropper and you just squeeze the eyedropper to get some of that clear liquid within the first 2 inches of that water, you squeeze and you fill it up. You can do 1 to 2 drops in each eye for things like pink eye or eye infections. It's beautiful for help healing that. And you just do that 3-4 times a day, the 1 to 2 drops in the eye that's infected or pink eye. You do that throughout the day until you see those results. So there's so much more we could talk about. You can put your whole body here in Uchee Pines. There's certain individuals, we give them charcoal baths. They put their whole body in a bath, about 1 cup to 2 cups in a bath of water, and they just soak in that, right? That helps with detox, but it also helps with people with skin issues. It's tremendous for skin issues too. So that's something that you can do. And there's so much we could say here, right? I got to just tell you this one story. When I was in Columbus, Georgia, the same Country Life food store, in my glasses, just like this, there was a wasp. I think y'all call it wasp here, and it got stuck in the glasses. And you know about wasps. Wasps aren't like bees, right? A bee sting you and it's die. A bee does actually try its best not to sting you, but a wasp will sting you over and over. It got stuck in my glasses and it starts stinging me, bam, 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 right in my eyes. That one of the most painful events of my life. And then somebody was looking in and they actually saw and they immediately start making charcoal. It was amazing, right? They put the charcoal, they made it, and then they put that charcoal right over the eye, and that's what helped bring relief. As soon as I put that charcoal over my eye, it was pretty cool. Within minutes, the relief came. I drove home, 30 minutes home. I slept for about hour to 2 hours. And when I woke up, I took that charcoal patch that I have off, and you would never know that a wasp stung me in my eye so many times. That's what sold it for me. This is what I have to keep in my kitchen cabinet, so to speak, right? I always have to have charcoal. So friends, God is so good. He foresaw my need, and somebody who knew about it before I did, somebody who knew about this, I got to experience it firsthand, the mercies of the Lord and the things He's created for man. So charcoal is good, and there's so much more, but we'll stop there for now. And again, if just checking to make sure, you can let me know how much time I have. I don't remember how much time I have. So just remind me of that so that I don't over, step over. The other one that I want to go through right now is the onion. This is another favorite of mine. The onion, and what it is basically is you just take this onion. You can use this in so many different ways, also externally, internally. Please, we take for granted the power, internal strength of an onion. An onion is also good for cholesterol, that we've been talking about, though it's very minuscule. It's still something you want to add in because it helps. It's good as a blood cleanser. So that means that it's going to be good to eat daily, really, to help clean the blood. And it's a powerhouse for the lungs. The respiratory system thrives when you're having a lot of onions. So there are some ways you can use this. Of course, some people saute it. You don't want to saute it too much, though. However, you can cook it and include it in your diet. The more raw it is, the stronger it's going to be on the respiratory system. So keep that in mind. But you still receive its benefits by taking it in. So the onion is strong in quercetin. People who have allergies, you want to have onions. When I had my allergic reaction, like I told you about cold urticaria, cold hives, that's what I was doing. I was taking quercetin, but I took onions also because it's high in quercetin. So I was taking onions and drinking it. When I say take it, I simmered it, right? 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes, and then I just drank that freely throughout the day. And that's how I got my quercetin in my body, and it helped with my allergies, and it helped with my respiratory system. It helps with lungs. So if you have pneumonia, bronchitis, bronchial issues, then you can definitely use this. I'm just checking to make sure. Okay, you can stop. Thank you. So 6:05, thank you. So you can use, and somebody put there using onion and alcohol. You can do that for arthritis, and that's a good one also, right? External use, of course, we don't want to, and I'm sure the person's not saying this, but just want to make sure we don't want to take alcohol internally as much as we can. The liver does not thrive. It kills the liver cells, especially, and brain cells, really, but yes, liver cells too. So when you do an onion, you cut this onion in half. This is another way to use onion. You can cut the onion in half well, let's stick to the lungs, and then I'll move on. So for the lungs, if you're using it for the lungs, you want to just cut this, you want to chop up, you can put it in a food processor, but you just want to pulse. You're just pushing that pulse button. Once you push the pulse button, you cut it up, and that onion that you've pulsed, you don't want to do it too much to make it mush. You can put that right on a piece of a napkin or Chuck's pad. You put that right over the chest area, large part over the chest area, and then you can sleep with that. Saran wrap that over. You just put on the saran wrap. Okay, I thought I had it, but it might be on the ground. I'll show you at the end. I buy the industrial saran wrap, the one that not saran wrap, but the industrial box wrap that you have on a pole, a stick that you can wrap around. You can get from like Home Depot or Sam's Club or one of those. But you buy that and you just wrap the person up, or saran wrap. You can do that too. You just wrap the person up with that, let them sleep with that, and it helps them breathe well. And if it doesn't find great relief over the chest, you can put it directly under the feet. The feet is where is the most porous part of the body is the feet. So you can put it right under the feet. And when it's under the feet, that's also going to help to draw. In a sense, it draws too. So, but you're going to actually help the lungs when you put it over under the feet also. I had a pastor who came here and he had some asthma problems, and that's what we did. One night I put it over the chest. He woke up in the morning and he told me, Jai, I had a little problem sleeping still. It didn't seem to help me. So what do you think I said? You think I said, well, that's too bad for you. I tried everything I know. That's it. No, we don't do that, right? We say, let's try something else. We give God a chance to show us, point us, guide us, because he wants to guide us. What's the next thing I can do? So we put it under his feet, did it the next night. He woke up in the morning. He says, that was one of the best sleep I've got. I breathed so well last night. He was just praising the Lord for it, right? So again, we need to get to the real problem there, right? So, just continue to understand this is what you want to do. This is how you can use this. You can do it under the feet. You want to warm it up a little bit. When it's warm, anytime you put heat on the skin, you dilate blood vessels and open pores more, right? So you want to dilate those blood vessels. Dilated blood vessels usually become a little bit more permeable, and then you could get those flavonoids and the other components of the onions inside of the body. We do this. I have a 1-year-old, my daughter, and we've put this under her foot many a times. When sickness is going around, we hit it early. Prevention is better than cure. So you can do it over the lungs. Another thing you can do, so we can move on. I probably won't get to everything. I can see that. What you can do is cut this onion in half. If you cut the onion in half this way, if you can see that, right? These are the ends of the onion and these two sides where my thumb and middle finger is. You just cut it down the middle. Not that you can't do it the other way, but it's probably easier for what I'm going to share with you doing it this way. When you cut it there, it's going to become a half and a half. What you want to do with that is, let's say the person has an ear infection. With an ear infection, when you cut this in half, you want to heat this up. You can put it in the oven. You just want to heat it up a little bit. When it heats up enough, you have two options. You can take a spoon, right? Now, when you heat up an onion, as you know, it gets softer. At first, it's hard, it's firm, but it gets softer as it heats. As it gets soft, you just take a spoon, the half of onion, you squeeze that onion in there, and you just put a drop or two, a couple drops in the air. You leave it for a little bit. You put a cotton ball right inside the ear, and then you want to do it in the other ear. And your question would be, well, if I have an infection in this ear, why would I want to do it in that ear? Well, when you have middle ear infection, sometimes it could actually travel. You can get infected, the other ear can get infected. So it's just the best result, the best thing you can do is really help yourself by doing that, right? Help yourself by using that for the ear. Yeah, so by preventing the other ear, I'm sorry, by preventing the other ear from becoming infected also. So it's good to treat both ears when you're dealing with infections. It's just a good habit. Some people do one and then the other one gets infected. So prevention, if you get one, just do it in the other because you lose nothing. Another thing you can do if you wanted to do that would be to, when you cut this onion, the same onion that you've heated up, the half a onion that now is soft, you can put that within a washcloth, right? So let's say that this is my washcloth, this is my half a onion, the open side facing me. I put that in a washcloth. Remember, this is going to be pretty hot, and I could just put that right over the ear. So I want to make sure this is safe for children, and I've done this. I've seen it done many a time for children with ear infections. You put it right over the ear. And you could put the other half over the other ear, and you put an ace bandage right over that. Just keep it on. You will look funny. You may not want to go outside, looking like that, but you're gonna get relief. I've seen children who've done this, and in minutes, they're already so grateful. Children who can't sleep, sleeping, and many times, 9 out of 10 cases, I only gonna leave that little 1% maybe, but 9 out of 10 cases, you have there's no need to do another treatment. It immediately brings relief and it heals the infection. This is how powerful these things are. This is how good God is, because he's the one that put it in the onion, because Psalms 104 says that the herbs are for the service of men. So they're your servants. So call your servants to work for you. That's what I do. When I have a need, I call my servants to work for me. And that's what I do in prayer, thanking God for the servants he provided. So I remember this lady just came to me. This couldn't be more than a month ago. A lady came to me who was telling me when I was sharing this, she says for 10 years, she had ear issues, very bad infections. She tried everything the doctors were giving, and all type of drainages, and I mean, she really went through the works. And somebody told her about onions, and she keep telling them, no, there's no way onions are gonna help me. She finally tried the onions, and she got relief in 10 minutes. Can you imagine? And she beat herself up because she says, me, all these years, I've had this issue where the medicine was in my house the whole time. God is so good, friends. This is the things he has shared with us so that we can be blessed, right? So she was but so now she tells that story. She says, wherever I go, I tell this story. So I just have to share that story with you, right? Share her story too. And many individuals, I'm sure, experience this. Another thing you can do, I forgot to bring it because I made it. If you take this onion, the same onion, if you take the onion, this is some good old honey. If you take this onion and you get a glass jar, you just need some type of jar, This is flaxseed, by the way. You can use flaxseed with the charcoal when you mix it. So we can talk about that again, ratios and all of that. But you take this jar or a smaller jar, depending how much you're making. You pour honey in there and you cut up some onions, chop it up. You want to chop it up, chop it up, chop it up. Put it in there, then put a little honey, a little onion, a little honey, a little onion. It becomes like a syrup. It gets very liquidy. And honey kind of goes a little slow, right? So, but when you're finished, I mean, that thing like it becomes like water, and then you can use that to help with different issues, different ailments. So when it comes to the respiration or lungs, so like for my children, we use that. For my 4-year-old, I use that on him. Whenever there's sickness going around, he loves his onion syrup. That's what it is, onion syrup. And we just take for him about a teaspoon every three times a day, or as needed if he happens to have a very heavy cough. Because especially for sore throat, it's going to really coat the throat, and the onions in there are so strong that it helps. So you want to pack the onions in there too. Now, after about a day or two, you want to strain this and just use it, and it stays for a good while. You should use it up before it goes bad. But I keep mine in the fridge. You can warm it up if you want something warm for the throat, especially to go down the throat. But it's amazing. So we have some extra, and that's what we use. Garlic does some of the similar things as honey, but the difference is garlic is so good. Garlic is so good to help with children. My 1-year-old, even when she was about 8 months, when she got a fever, something we did, which we could do a whole section just on children. But something we did is we cut up the garlic, we cut it up very fine, and we put it in a piece of tissue or cloth. We put we put the garlic on top here, and then we just wrap it, right? And you just wrap it. And the garlic, you want the one layer between the garlic and the surface. You put that underneath the feet, and you put on their little booties, their little socks on the child's feet or the infant's feet. Remember, keep that layer. You don't want to put garlic directly on skin or it's going to blister. So you put that layer, some type of layer on the garlic, and what's going to happen is the garlic will actually help it'll get into the body. And on my daughter, you could actually smell the garlic on her breath. It's amazing. Right? So that garlic is getting in the system. Now, another way to do it for children, of course, is for the mother, right? The mother to eat it. But that's something good you can do for some reason. If you can't get the mother to, or you want extra help for the immunity of that child, put the garlic on the bottom of the feet, put onion on the bottom of the feet. Onion doesn't need a layer. Onion can come directly in contact with the skin and have no problem. Garlic, you need a layer if you're going to use garlic. Remember that. Okay. So that's the onion syrup. And taking onion like daily. Again, we talked about allergies, cleaning the blood, helping tone as a tonic for the lungs. So people with asthma, you want to increase your onion juicing or simmering the onion and drinking that. copious amounts is going to help, but it is a blood thinner. Onion thins the blood. So if you're already on blood thinners, that's just something to keep in mind if you're going to do a lot of onions, right? If you go in the natural way, it is a blood thinner. I want to repeat that. So just keep that in mind in your decision making. Um, and the last one, I guess I'll do, though there is for sure so much more. The last one that I want to just share is the ginger. I'll just share ginger for now. Um, and ginger is another one, just like the potato. You grate the ginger, you just grate it. And ginger also is very, well, first of all, it's very aromatic. I love it, but it's also very soothing. And ginger is going to be good for joint pains. So if you're dealing with certain joint pains, then you want to have your tissue. Again, I use paper towel because that's available. People have that, but you can use an old t-shirt. You can use, you just want something that's not too thick though. You want the juices to get through. And then so you grate it on top of your napkin. You grate it, grate it, grate it. Once it's in the napkin, you cover it over, right? And you put it on the body part. If it's the back, then you know you need a bigger poultice. And you're just grating it. It's going to be very cool to the touch. And you put that right over the inflamed joint or inflamed area. And whenever there's inflammation and ginger goes there, it pulls it. It could get very hot. Some people get they feel it almost like icy hot. You know how you put on an icy hot pack, it get very heated. That's also what ginger feels like. It could get extremely hot. So keep that in mind. But it's really good for joint pain. And it's good as exactly, you just took the words from my mouth. It's good as a pain reliever overall, right? So you want to use that for joint pain or pains externally, but also drinking it helps with inflammation internally. And it helps tremendously with nausea. When I was going from St. Croix to St. Thomas, my twin island, we were on the boat and I remember the boat was just going. I mean, it was a rough water that day and the boat was just bouncing and people were throwing up and I had the one piece of ginger and I remember having ginger. It was like this ginger candy, but it wasn't just ginger candy. It was like concentrated ginger. So yeah, it was a little sweet, but I mean, power of just pure ginger. And then I put that in my mouth. I was the only one on that boat who was not throwing up. I mean, and it was just, I mean, I was amazed. And I always had a ginger candy with me after that. Of course, unfortunately, they stopped selling it. I really love it. It was probably good for me that they stopped selling it. I was probably taking a little too much when I was young. But it was such a beautiful product because I saw that it worked because it was strong of ginger. It wasn't ginger flavor, it was actual ginger that they used. So it was very powerful. So you can use it for nauseousness, nausea. Women who are pregnant, it's safe to use it too for if you have nauseous, if you're nauseous, they've tested this many a times. So that's ginger externally and internally. And it's a very good soother. And they found like if it's people who are in the winter time or you somewhere that's very cold, a good way to warm up the body is with ginger, not just because of the heat of the tea, but ginger itself has properties, one called gingerol, where ginger get its name, gingerol, and gingerol helps with heating up the body, the core. So they've done studies where they look at heat scans, people who've drunk different beverages. When they drink ginger and you look at the heat scan, you just see how much blood comes to the surface. There's a lot of heat, which tells me it's heating up the core so much, right? It's really heating up the core. The body is bringing that to the surface to dissipate, but it really heats up the body. So it's good for winter time or times of really cold. So really good to do to keep the body warm. The body likes to stay at a nice even temperature. So there's so much more we can do. But we're gonna stop there just for time to get some of your questions in and then we can move on. So please let me know how I pray this was I should say I pray this was a blessing to you and we can go from there.
Amen. Amen. Wow. Wow. If you were blessed, type blessed in the chat, everyone. If you were blessed, type blessed in the chat. I have typed a few questions, so let me just give everyone a few further instructions. Those who would like to watch and listen to this presentation again, Can find it on Nathlin Lacroix or Holistic Lifestyle Facebook pages or Holistic Lifestyle's YouTube channel. If you would like to be alerted for the next public health lecture, please WhatsApp us at 242-828-8486 or place your number in the chat or email lifestylecounselor64@gmail.com. That's lifestylecounselor64@gmail.com. Okay. All right. So all those who would like to ask a question pertaining to today's presentation, I see we have a few which I've combined. You can just type it in the chat or on Nathalie Lacroix's Holistic Lifestyle Facebook page. Those who would like to vocally ask their questions, please raise your hand and your microphone will be unmuted. So thank you so much, Brother Hewlett, for that presentation. It was truly a blessing. And here are a few of the questions. I know you answered question about shingles and you were looking for the name of a plant as well that I think you said it had red on it. And if you want to go, and I type all those questions combined if you want to take them one by one. I see a lot of blessed in the chat. Amen, everyone. Amen. Yes.
Oh, okay, yep. So I'll just look in the chat. You let me know the cutoff time, and I'll just keep going for now. I want to make sure I don't hit and miss anybody. I know we talked about I do believe it's geranium or hopefully I just know it's like a G thing. I believe I'm saying that right. Geraniums, if I'm saying that right, somebody who knows that plant. But that is good for the shingles, also the extract of geraniums. So just going down the list. Um, so good evening. Someone asked about, so basically gout, things you can do for gout. I see that that was a question other than removing diet, certain foods from the diet. That's number one. And I'm just stressing that. I know the person knows that. I'm just stressing that because that's where it comes from, especially high meat, right? So you have to remove that. But one that people don't think about with gout, um, when you come to some of that acid that crystallizes, that causes that pain, it's not just in meat. If you eat high concentration of nuts, you can get the same thing. So if you're eating too many nuts, you can get gout-like symptoms. It's not exactly the same, but you can get gout-like symptoms. So the person who's doing it, you have things called purines, and they can also experience that symptom. So I just want to say that because that becomes important from a diet standpoint. Other than that, cherry juice is really good, concentrated cherry juice. So not just buying some cherry grape juice thing from Walmart. I'm talking about concentrated cherry where they tell you only put like, a teaspoon per a large amount. You want to buy one of those. That helps tremendously to cut it out, increasing your water intake tremendously. A huge part of gout is water intake. Soaking the part in warm water baths, especially for that body part, is really good also. So those are some of the top ones. So I hope that helps the individual. The other questions, looking for another one. Would charcoal so I'm guessing the question is about cataracts or glaucoma, charcoal water, not necessarily charcoal water for that. You could do these are kind of two different things. One is more pressure with the eyes, and the other one has to do more with like these scales or coverings over the eye. They handle kind of differently, and glaucoma, because of the pressure, doing hot and cold compresses is just a really good way to help with glaucoma. So if the person is dealing with glaucoma, I would recommend tremendously doing hot and cold compresses. You want to do things like there's a herb called eye bright. So you can take that herb if you've heard about eye bright, you want to take that herb. So yeah. So another part of that too, I just want to share too is emotions, right? I know we don't think about that, but when you're angry and upset emotionally, you actually increase the pressure there. right? We don't think about that, right? The eye, getting angry, it aggravates so much. It creates your sympathetic nervous system, sending up many things that we won't get into. So you want to really control emotions. We don't see it as that. So control emotions. So that's something I would recommend. I hope that kind of helps. But you want to increase things like your omega-3s. So flaxseed oil is really good also. You want to stop things like that's going to lead to more pressure buildup. So I'm thinking constipation, a person who is you want to increase your fiber intake more because it's going to help the constipation. If the person is having to push that's pressure. We don't think about that, but that's also pressure. So those are you want to do. Increase your omega-3s. You can use castor oil. When it comes to cataracts, I'm sorry. Some people try castor oil. That's the only thing I know individuals do. I don't know a lot about cataracts from a treatment standpoint. But I know some people they use and have reported results. I can't give you more than just the reports that I've heard of using a drop of castor oil in the eye. Please, use your judgment in using that. That's just me sharing that with you. But from a glaucoma standpoint, yeah, definitely I've heard of good relief using the flaxseed oil, increasing those omega-3s, helping the heat and the compress, so hot and cold compress over the eye. Now you're dealing with a sensitive part, so you don't want it very hot. Be very careful, of course, right? Using judgment. So we want to do hot and cold over the eye. That's going to help tremendously to strengthen that eye and to relieve some pressure. And I did this with a lady who a year ago, I believe, where we were going through this kind of protocol. And those are the things that come right off my mind. There are some other things that's not really coming to me right now, too. But those is what I would say. You want to be sugar-free also. That's another one. So those are some top ones for the glaucoma. And hope that helps. Somebody is talking about what is the remedy for hypertension. Number one, stop worrying. There's a lot to say here, but we won't go through every single one. I'll just say number one is the mind. Most hypertensive situations began because of you put yourself in a fight or flight state, right? Chronic stress. So you have to deal with stress. And when I say deal with stress, not cope with it, right? Deal with it. We could do a whole thing on stress, but just dealing with stress, right? So you want to do deep breathing. Somebody with hypertension wants to do what's called 4-7-9. That's taking a deep breath internally with the nostrils, holding that. You're breathing in for 4 seconds, you're holding it for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out for 9 seconds. So in through the nostrils, 4 seconds, hold it for 7 seconds, then you blow out slowly through the mouth for 9 seconds. And what that does is it deactivates the sympathetic nervous system, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest system. So it helps you to calm back down. And what that does is it lower blood pressure also through some other mechanisms that we won't get into. So you want to do 4-7-9, drink water. When you're dehydrated, you can increase your blood pressure, right? We don't think of that. Drink water. You want foods like garlic and onions. Garlic is really good as a blood thinner. Water is the best blood thinner, so drink lots of water, but garlic is really good at helping your blood vessels and onions too to stay elastic so that they're flexible for dilation, which helps more blood flow, which is going to help lower that blood pressure. Hawthorn berries, but hawthorn berries take a while. You got to be on hawthorn berries for a while. So that's another one. Make sure you're doing good with your B12 and some B vitamins. That's more on the lesser scale, but nonetheless important. So I hope that helps. There's many things, but doing onions is good. Water is good. Garlic water, steeping some garlic and drinking that is going to help tremendously. Of course, work with your doctor if you're on medications. You don't want your blood pressure to drop too much. So talk and consult with your doctor as you do these things to lower your blood pressure. A hot foot bath, putting the foot in hot water. You cause a hydrostatic effect, you a derivative effect which pulls blood down to the feet. That's going to relieve blood pressure. There's other mechanisms that happens there too, but putting the feet in hot water is a really sure way, as hot as the person can tolerate, building that heat up over time in the feet. It's a really good way in a quick time to get it down. Cayenne pepper is another one. Taking a little bit of cayenne pepper, half a teaspoon, quarter teaspoon in some water is a good one to get it down immediately. Okay, so I'll just stop there for time. What is good for tinnitus? Um, we know that one has been a little bit more challenging. I haven't heard a lot of things for tinnitus. A lot of people, unfortunately, who get that, I haven't heard a lot of remedies or things that help that one. Some people have used something to work that's trying. It's ginkgo biloba. Ginkgo biloba is one of the best herbs for the brain. What it does is it brings a lot of blood flow to the brain, open up those vessels that blood can come. But they use an extract from there because there's some flavonoids in ginkgo biloba, the herb that helps. That's been some studies have shown some promise for it. I can't say 100% convinced, like, oh yes, but it's worth trying because I haven't seen a lot of people who've used remedies to get a really good results with that. But that's my experience. Praise God. If somebody else has known something, please share that with me. I'd love to know to share with others. But ginkgo biloba is a tea that I've heard finding an extract of ginkgo biloba, I've heard is helped some individuals. Drinking it, of course, right? You're taking this internally, by the way. And some people using well, yeah, we'll stop there just in case because it is good to find out. Um, my sister does an onion tea with herbs and it's delicious. So those are the good ones. Oh, I saw this. I didn't realize you put this all already for me. What's good for sore throat? I see that one. Then the same thing we talked about, using your honey and onions. The onion syrup is really good for sore throat. Prevention is better than cure. You can use one of the best things I've seen for sore throat is to prevent it from coming on is actually taking like imagine if you could imagine this and if we have time we'll go more if not if I have to stop I just really want to get this one there imagine this is a sock or a shirt right some shirt but it's cotton so you want a cotton sock or a cotton shirt. You just want it about the amount for the neck. You want to wet this in ice cold water. Ice cold. It's called a heating compress. And I know it sounds redundant, heating compress, but ice cold water. You just put the sock, the ice cold sock, you put right over here. We need another time for hydro class, but I want to show you this one, and we could do this again another time. You put the cold sock here. You take plastic and you can do a sandwich bag or a grocery bag. You want to cut the plastic and it needs to be thicker than the sock or the shirt that you use. And you wrap that around. And then you pin it in the back with a clothespin, I mean a safety pin or something. And then you wrap that with some kind of wool or a scarf. And what's going to happen is it's going to go from that cold to very hot. It's going to get hot as you sleep, and that heat is going to help that throat. It's going to boost the immune around that. So it's bringing white blood cells. It's pushing away blood from that area. It's bringing fresh blood to the area. When you wake up in the morning, you just put a cold rag where you wipe off because it's going to be hot to the touch. You could feel it hot. You're going to wipe it off with a cold rag in the morning when you wake up, or if you do it for a couple of hours. And that I have seen numerous times stop a sore throat from coming on, preventing a cold. As simple as that is. So I just wanted to share that. So I do want to, I'm just going to get up to show you right quick the saran, the one that I use. I just don't want you to miss that. So 1 second. And this is it right here. I had it on the ground. So this is it here, right? So this is the saran wrap that you can get. I get this because and you can get a larger one too. They come in different sizes. And you see how you could just do that? So you could just wrap that cloth we were talking about right around, just like that. And that's going to help tremendously with sore throat. Okay. And I'll just look at some of these others if there's any other here, if I'm not missing. Um,
Yes,
uh,
and I think at the end of the last message, I compiled a set of questions at the end of all the messages.
Okay, I'll look at that. Yep. I do see one from Kenisha that says, I would like to hear more information on the onion boil. Is there something I'm trying to understand that specific question with onion boil. So I'm going to move on, but maybe she can type what exactly she means by onion boil. Um, so let me see. Okay, so I'll just probably go to then. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Is chewing garlic recommended? I did one time for sore throat, but yep. So I wouldn't recommend garlic is very hot. You don't want to do it. What I do, like for instance, for a cold or something, I just put I put a piece of toast with heavy avocado, so half of avocado on that toast, and I mince about 4 or 5 garlics. This isn't for everybody, but I mince about 4 or 5 of that garlic. I mince it up really small, as much as I can get it small, or I put it in the squeezer, and I put that all over 4 or 5 on that toast, and then I put the other half of that garlic on another toast, and I make a garlic sandwich. And that's tremendous to help with preventing colds because you're getting all that raw garlic in you without feeling the burn. I wouldn't recommend you just chew on garlic. It's very hot. And because the tissue, the lining of the tissue in the mouth, just like we say, could blister. Now it has to stay on for a while to blister, but it could burn. So I wouldn't recommend just chewing it like that. If you want to keep it in there for like a tooth infection or something, you can do that. But even then, you want to maybe try to put some type of thin layer, but you want to just be careful against the cheek or the tissue. Not everybody experiences this. Usually people experience a burn, but some people experience even more so when it goes into a blister. So I just want to say that to avoid that. Um, is purines filled in mushroom and spinach as well? I was told to cut that out or down. I don't know about purines in spinach or mushroom. I'm not familiar with that. Spinach has oxalates, so you want to either anytime you eat spinach, you have to cook it or you have to put lemon juice over it, just straight lemon over it, or else you have oxalates and that also can build up in your system. Maybe that's the avenue, the mechanism the person is talking about. But oxalates usually do more with the stones development, but I haven't heard about it from Purine, so I'm not sure about that one. I noticed you included fish in the diet. Was that a mistake? I don't remember saying fish. I'm sorry if you heard fish or if I said it, I apologize. I said flaxseed oil. So not fish. Fish from a bioaccumulation, you don't want to go down the route of fish. Now we could go so much into that, but fish tissues, many a times they have a lot of that bioaccumulation. If you ever look at that word bioaccumulation, it's just that what the fish eats, if that's diseased or if that's bad or if that has pollutants, which a lot of our waters do, then you're not only getting the pollutants from the fish that fish ate, that fish actually gets it even a higher concentration in its tissue. And if another fish eats that and you eat that bigger fish from all the smaller ones that it ate, then that's what bioaccumulation is. By the time you get to the big fish that you actually eat, now you have so much of that concentrated toxins that's what's going in your body. So when we talk about fish oil, for instance, the only reason fish oil makes any good sense to take fish oil is because the fish has high in omegas. How does the fish get omegas, which are essential fatty acids? It gets it from algae and other things it eats. So you could just skip the fish and you can get it straight from the source. So thank you for the person who just want to make sure. Natural medicine for acid reflux. Don't eat between meals. First thing first. When you wake up in the morning, drink lots of water. Don't eat between meals. When I take a bite of a food and I eat, and they did studies on this, let's say I eat my breakfast in the morning, I have to wait at least 5 hours before my next meal. Why? Because when they've done studies, they've shown stomachs that give somebody a meal 4.5 hours later, they did scans on the stomach. They found that the stomach was empty. Good. Then they did the experiment again. They give them breakfast, then they give them in 2 hours after breakfast, they let them just chew on a handful of nuts, just a handful of nuts. And when they check their digestive system, 3 hours after that, so that's a total of 5 hours now, right? So 2 hours after breakfast, they eat a handful of nuts. 3 hours after that, they check the X-ray the stomach, and what did they find in the stomach? Breakfast from before. Even just taking one bite of a Snicker, they found that breakfast was delayed by hours. Still, you're going to eat lunch and you still have breakfast residue and a good amount of it, depending how much snacking you snacked. You still have that in your stomach that hasn't been totally emptied, right? So you want to be very careful. That's the first thing. The second thing is making sure that you're drinking plenty of water. There's a herb called slippery elm that's amazing. You want to do slippery elm powder. Once you put it in water, you don't want to leave it in water too long. We could do a whole nother section on herbal remedies. Maybe we could do that another time too, just herbs. But you can do slippery elm. You can take that down and that's going to help. But just to get to the other ones here. There's no particular blend of charcoal. You just want to make sure the best sources I like is coming from bamboo or coconut shells. Once it says on the back that it comes from bamboo or coconut shells, that's what I look for. But because I know we get it here at Uchee Pines, I'm not really worried. But I do look for that if I go outside of our own source, which I have done for charcoal types. Yes, praise the Lord. Always I'm probably heard something very much. Praise the Lord, sleep apnea. So sleep apnea and snoring. Well, snoring, snoring happens, especially and even sleep apnea to a degree too, is as you relax. That's why people who sleep on their back, they're more prone to this, right? So you want to one, change the side position that you're sleeping. There's things you can buy to keep the mouth the mouth in line because when you go backwards, the muscle relaxes and it goes down and it closes that gap, which is causing some of that problem. Another thing too to keep in mind is eating too late as you sleep. They realize too eating too close to bedtime, you usually snore more and you form more COPD or sleep apnea as a result too. So that's two things I would share really that helps. But there are some things you can buy just to keep the muscle in line or sleep more on the side, especially the left side because the brain cleans out in the middle of sleep and sleeping on the left cleans the brain more. That's just a little tidbit. I would like to hear more. So char yep, I can post the link for the charcoal right when we're done here. As they're wrapping up, I'll just post anything I need to post just so I could get you the question. So I got to remember that the Country Life Food Store, chewing. Okay, so okay, so yeah, so that's pretty much all of them there, right? Um, I think that's it. Okay, so I think that's it. What is good for? Yep. So that was there. So somebody asked about soaking garlic in alcohol and using that for rubbing the joint. Yeah, you can. I haven't used that a lot for joint pain. There's other things I've used for joint pain that we've talked about. So I've heard good reports with people doing onion, especially, and soaking that in alcohol. So that's another thing you can do. And you say, what happens? The last question I'm seeing here. What can be done if the air feels always clogged, affecting hearing? So if the air is feeling clogged, then I would let somebody go and a doctor go. I should say somebody, right? Go to a doctor, let them look inside because it could be an infection. It could be that your body, your ear, how it works is it pushes it out, right? It pushes the earwax out. There's a mechanism that slowly pushes it out of the ear tube, ear canal. So sometimes that doesn't work very well. And so God in his wisdom make it that it push it out, but something could take place that stop that process. Therefore, you may not be getting the earwax out as efficient as it should be. So you may need some help getting that out. You can get like a water pick. That's a safe alternative you can use. Somebody who knows how to use that correctly. You lift the air and you go backwards. That opens the canal the most. That little, it sounds simple, but just up and back opens the canal. The water pick goes in and it helps really get out that earwax if it's clogged. In case it's an infection, you can do the onion that we talked about. And then somebody asked if I could repeat the onion syrup. The onion syrup is using onions. You cut up the onions, you chop them up pretty fine. I don't, people do rings, but I like to really chop it up because you get more juice and you get more of the onions extracted into the honey. That's what I do. So it's just honey and onions, and there is no ratio. When you have a jar, what you want to do is fill the jar with onions chopped up and then pour honey until the honey goes over that onion. Then put more onions and then put more honey until the honey go over that next set of onions. And then you just let that sit. You don't want to make too much. You don't want to be half a jar if you know you're not going to use all of that and you're only sick for 5, 6 days or sore throat, right? So you just want to make a little at a time because it goes a long way. You're just thinking a teaspoon to 1 tablespoon as needed or 3 to 4 times a day. So that's the onion syrup, and that's really good for children, right? Of course, not infants, because you can't give children under one honey. So just making sure that's clear. So that looks to be like everything. I'm just gonna put the Country Life, the Uchee Pines website, ucheepines.org/Country Life, right? So if you do that, Country Life, you can go on our website there. They do have just different things. We have counseling sheets for those who are interested in different things. You can go there, look at counseling sheets. We have the Country Life store. You can get the number from them from online, the Country Life store, and you can tell them what you want. Say you either just let them know. I wish I could tell them Jai sent you and you'll get a discount, but I can't promise that. So but you can try it, see what they do. But I hope that that's a blessing for you. I don't see any other question, and I don't know if there's anything else to really put here. And I pray that this was a blessing for all those doing this. Keep in mind, again, I want to just emphasize, and somebody's doing it too. As we make these changes, you have to ask yourself your question, am I on medication? Anytime I'm doing something to help a situation where I am, I need to be sure that I'm consulting with my doctor. So my doctor knows what's going on. So my medication, it could be adjusted as needed if needed. So you're always keeping up with the doctor for any lifestyle changes you make. Lifestyle changes could be powerful moves in the right direction, but the right direction along with medication can send it in the wrong direction. So you want to consult your doctor is not your enemy, okay? So he's ought to work with you. A true doctor who's there for you will work with you. So I pray that this is a blessing. Let me know if I missed a question, or I'll let the host take it away and we can go from there.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Jai Hewitt. Um, we could have you on for a long time. It was truly a blessing, and there's so much more to share. And I just want to remind everyone that you can watch this again. Yes, yes, you can listen to this presentation again by going to Nathan LaCroix or Holistic Lifestyle Facebook pages or Holistic Lifestyle YouTube channel, and you will be blessed. And you can pause, you can share it with others who you know will be blessed by it as well. So I saw some of the persons who shared their email address in the chat. You will be alerted the next time we have a public health lecture. And so you can WhatsApp Holistic Lifestyle at 242-828-8486 or place your number in the chat or email address. And so you will be contacted with that. All right. So I want to say thank you so much. Right, got you. Yes, Jai, we would definitely need to have you again. So we're looking forward to hearing more
Can I
from
put
you,
one little
Jai.
plug in for something?
Yes.
Um,
Yes,
so
okay, go
just
ahead.
Yep. So just I just want to share too for those who are interested. That email I put His Way Ministry is a personal ministry, and I have sometimes traveled to different places. Work out with individuals logistics, people who may be interested in natural remedy demonstration or hydrotherapy demonstration or a weekend event. I do that also. So if anybody is interested in that, you just email that email specifically. I do consultations with individuals. That is just a donation basis thing for people who are interested in that. So I just want to thank you so much for those who have can't come out. I know you are going to go anywhere, be anywhere. I want to say a personal thank you, and I pray that this is a blessing.